This computer. All right. I'm going to make our faces smaller. And welcome, everybody. We are so glad that you have made it on our call today. Whether you're watching with us live or here in the recording, if you are live, you get the option of asking questions and chiming in the chat. So feel free to use that chat. We love to be able to interact and talk on any topics that you have a little bit more insight that you'd like. So if this is your first time joining us, also welcome. We like to put together a free workshop every month for you to join in on, for you to invite your friends. And it's basically a different topic each month, all connected to living optimally and really optimizing our own hormone health for ourselves and for our whole family and for everyone that we come in contact with. So today's topic is really exciting. It's the cortisol connection. And cortisol, you've been hearing, I'm sure, so much about lately. You've been hearing, you should have cortisol, you shouldn't have cortisol, cortisol's bad, cortisol's good, all of these different things. And maybe you've even heard, reset your cortisol in 5 days. I'm here to tell you, I wish our cortisol had a reset button, and it is something that we can work towards restoring and having in the optimal space, but there's no button. There's no 2-day program that's going to help you just magically reset it. There are a lot of really important shifts. So our goal today is to help you understand and educate you on what exactly is cortisol. How is it helpful to us? How does it play a role in our overall hormone health? And how you can, again, optimize, work towards and with your body and optimizing the health and of your cortisol. And so this kind of goes along with me telling you there's unfortunately no 2-day button that you can press because lifestyle got you here and lifestyle will get you out. It really is about making shifts in our lifestyle that is going to help you optimize your cortisol. Okay, so I first want to talk about possible dangers of chronic elevated cortisol. And this is me, and I will tell you exactly which year this is because I remember it like yesterday. It was 2023, and New Year's had just hit, and I said, this is going to be my best year ever, like we always say in New Year's. Anybody else? Just me. And one thing after another began happening. Major things, major life disruptions, a lot of things were happening. And even though I was exercising, even though I was eating clean, even though I was doing all the things that I knew to do up until that point, my body started going wacky on me. And so sometimes cortisol can get this bad rap, like, ooh, cortisol's bad. Cortisol is not bad. Let's clear that up right away. And Kaylee will go into this in more detail. But when we have chronic elevated cortisol, that's when we can start having challenges. And the reason being, cortisol is one of our, four main hormones, and it's important for us to be able to call on cortisol in an emergency, in a situation where maybe you're at the gym and you are trying to max out that bench press or that leg squat, and you want to call on that cortisol to really help you in the instance of an accident or in a situation that you need to run and grab your kid from out in front of a car. You want that cortisol. That cortisol is going to spike, help you in that situation. And here's what then we want to see it do. We want to see it come back down and be in that really nice space where when we call it, it comes, and then we can go back into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest state, and not stay stuck up here. And I want to go over what happened to me in 2023 very quickly, when it was that chronic elevated cortisol that I couldn't catch a break and I wasn't making amendments in my lifestyle to allow my body, my nervous system to calm down and reset. It can disrupt hormonal imbalance, as I said, and Kaylee will cover more in just a minute. It is one of your main four hormones. So when you throw one of those four out of whack, it's like it can throw everything else out of whack. Fatigue and irritability. And I know that a lot of us make jokes about how we feel during the holidays, except Megan. She is like the cutest Christmas elf. But a lot of us get fatigue and irritability during, the holidays. And guess what? This might all start to tie together now. Increased blood sugar levels, especially when you throw on 100 holiday cookies, headaches, digestive issues, constipation, bloating, diarrhea, anxiety or depression, weight gain, increased blood pressure, low libido or problems with regular ovulation or menstrual periods, difficulty recovering from your exercise, poor sleep, muscle pain. For me, it was in my jaw, talk about lockjaw, neck pain, holding a lot of stuff up here, right? And these are all things that we notice can creep up when we start having these elevated stress levels. Uh, but again, it's when they get stuck up here that we really have to take a moment to look at our lives and say, what can shift, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Kaylee because I know you want to hear all about the specifics of exactly what's going on and how you can be cortisol smart.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So, what I want to try to do is take a very intricate and complicated topic and make it really simple and applicable to your day-to-day life. So, that's my goal. And like Amy said, cortisol is good until it's bad, like a lot of things, right? So, in the functional, holistic wellness space, we call cortisol the survival hormone. This is like it is literally your life hormone. Cortisol does things that seem simple that you don't think about on a day-to-day basis. Around 4 a.m., cortisol starts to slowly rise. It's preparing you to wake up and be ready to tackle the day. It rises, 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 rises. You're up, you're ready to function. And then it needs to come back down so that as that day winds up, you can slow down. You know, before we had lights and electricity and all these things, when it got dark out, that's when people would be like done moving around. They didn't need a lot of energy after that point, right? And then you get to go to rest. When it gets disrupted, when we constantly are triggering it, we can basically break it to where your morning cortisol is low. You wake up fatigued. It takes you forever to get going. You need like at least 2 coffees or your pre-workout to start moving. And then what happens is you get like this second wind at the end of the day where like you've been revved up all day, high adrenaline, 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 and your cortisol's high. And then even though you're exhausted, you can't fall asleep. So cortisol is one of our main stress hormones. It influences your energy, your metabolism, your inflammation levels, your blood sugar. All those things mean it impacts weight, where you gain fat, where you hold fat, your ability to lose weight, your ability to build muscle, even how our bodies are able to make estrogen and progesterone, which you're going to see in my little chart here. So just to show you guys really quickly, there are precursors. There's actually lots of hormones, right? But we try to like talk about it from the main ones that we all know are sex hormones and like cortisol and oxytocin. But before we get to cortisol, we have something called pregnenolone. And you might have heard of like the pregnenolone steal or the cortisol steal. So what we really want to happen with this hormone is we want it to be converted to DHEA. And then that helps make testosterone and estrogen. But what happens is, remember when I said cortisol is your survival hormone? When our brains, we call it the HPA axis, you don't need to know that, but your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenals work together to control all these hormones. When our brain keeps getting a stress signal, and I'm going to tell you where these stressors can come from, but when it gets that signal over and over and over again, right? It does a whole series of actions to prepare our body to survive. If we need to survive in a moment, do we want to need to go poop? No, we do not, right? So digestion downregulates. Blood flow goes, instead of going to our gut, it goes to our extremities in case we need to lift something, fight something, we need to run, right? So what it does is, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor on the screen, but I keep moving it. But instead of taking the pregnenolone and going and making DHEA and all of our sex hormones, it steals from progesterone, it steals from DHEA, and it makes cortisol. That lowers our sex hormones over time. When progesterone starts to lower, even if your estrogen is at a normal level, you become estrogen dominant. Then that creates a whole host of new symptoms, right? So yeah, It's so incredibly common, especially in early perimenopause, but we're also seeing it way before that. We're seeing it in teenage girls getting their periods, this estrogen dominance, right? I'm going to talk to you about where all that comes from. But I just wanted you guys to understand this a little bit is like there's a whole series of reactions that are meant to be happening. And when we keep triggering the stress response over and over again, we basically downshift our body's ability to make our sex hormones because they're focused on making survival hormones. So that's what I want you to understand first. Now, where does stress come from? We tend to think of it as like emotional and mental stress, right? Like I had a bad day at work. My child needed help with a lot of homework and we were arguing with each other. My husband and I got in a fight. I sat in traffic, right? But your brain doesn't know the difference between emotional and physical stress. It reacts the same way to both. Even if you're just thinking about something stressful, it's not actually happening. You're worrying. Any worriers here? That's a trigger right there. You are like visualizing the worst case scenario in your brain. You're thinking about all the things that could potentially go wrong. Your brain doesn't know that you're just worried about it. Your brain goes, this is happening. I need to react in a way to prepare this body to deal with this stressor. So the main sources of stress are mental and emotional. So overscheduling, family dynamics, pressure at work, lack of boundaries, grief, worry, all of that. Then there's physical stressors, things like undereating. Did you guys know that's a source of stress on your body? Right? When your body doesn't have the right nutrients that it needs, it thinks it's in like starvation famine mode. That is a source of stress. You could be under eating for your activity level. You could be under eating for how much sleep you're allowing your body to have because food is fuel. Overtraining. I know a lot of us come from fitness backgrounds. Let me tell you guys that I have worked with so many women in the last 6 weeks who I have literally told to stop exercising because of their body's stress response, their chronic cortisol. They were in either total alarm state, about to be shut down, or completely shut down and burn out. They can't lose weight because they're in a burnout state and their body's in total protective mode. But they're being told by doctors, eat less, work out more. That's the key to losing weight. You're a woman, that's what it takes over 30. I can tell you about one client who's literally stopped working out. She worked out 6 days a week. She walked her 10,000 steps every day. Once a week, she walked 8 miles. Couldn't lose weight, gained 40 pounds. This week, I've had her doing nothing but nervous system and walking and eating more. She lost 6 pounds in a week. She hasn't lost a pound, not 1 pound in 3 years. She stopped. And you're like, Kaylee, you're a health coach. How can you tell us to stop exercising? If you are sore every single day and your muscles never stop being sore, if your weights feel heavier than they used to feel, if you feel drained after a workout instead of like psyched up and ready to go and energized, you're probably overtraining. And I'm going to tell you to either cut back or stop. I'm not going to tell you to stop moving, but I'm going to tell you to change the way that you move. That's a major stressor. And I think women need to hear that message because we keep hearing lift heavier and all these things, which is important. But if you're in a state of burnout, alarm, your stress is like off the charts, you've got mold exposure. If the workouts aren't working for you, there's a reason. And this is where the root is. It's cortisol and nervous system, okay? Lack of sleep, injuries, chronic pain, all stressors. There's also gut. Gut is a major source of stress. So gut imbalances, hidden infections, inflammation, leaky gut, your blood sugar spiking and crashing all the time. And then there's environmental stressors. So toxins in our food, plastics, cleaning products, fragrances, all the scented candles at the holidays. You guys, I love them too. They're literally toxic to our endocrine systems. So toxic. We have to find cleaner options or maybe, use a diffuser or something more natural, but it's literally not worth the hit that your endocrine system takes and the stress it is on your body. And even our skincare, all those things have to be detoxed out. They burden our liver, they burden our gut, they create stress in our body. So they all send the same signal, the same message to your brain. We're not safe. The brain relays that message through what I told you about, the HPA axis, right? The hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands, and then they respond by basically releasing cortisol and adrenaline so you can fight, flee, or freeze. And we want that to happen in short bursts. Cortisol is our life survival hormone. Our body's protecting us. But when it stays up all day and the system never gets to reset, that's when our body basically starts to burn out. It requires a lot to go through the process that you see here in these slides. It requires a lot for our body to make that cortisol. It eats up magnesium, it eats up your minerals. And if they're not being replenished at a level to keep up with the amount that we're calling on, then eventually we're going to run out. And that's when our bodies start to completely shut down. And that's when we start to see a lot of the worsening symptoms of like gaining a lot of weight, not being able to lose weight, waking up totally fatigued. Maybe you start suddenly having anxiety. You might start having rashes, like all kinds of different symptoms that a lot of times we just blame on perimenopause and the phase of life. But really, it's just decades of built up stress. And our bodies are like, I'm depleted, I'm out of resources. And that's so things start to snowball. And we call that the pregnenolone steal or the cortisol steal. So all of your main hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, they're made from the same material called pregnenolone, which comes from cholesterol. Anyone get a high cholesterol blood work in perimenopause? A lot of times that is related to this. We need cholesterol to make all these hormones. And so your liver is like, I'm going to have to make some more cholesterol to keep up with this girl because she thinks she can burn it at both ends of the stick. And I'm just going to keep on keeping up. And your body's like, I'm not going to keep on keeping up, right? So this is what starts to happen. Your progesterone drops because it's being used to make cortisol and even short-term testosterone to fuel fight or flight. Estrogen becomes dominant. That shows up as PMS, mood swings, heavy, painful periods, breast tenderness, weight around the midsection. DHEA and testosterone decline. That leaves you fatigued, low libido. You start to feel flat. You just start to feel like meh about everything. Also, that impacts your ability to build muscle and to see that muscle gain, which we know, we really need to protect our muscle. And your thyroid function is going to start to slow down because the body doesn't want to burn fuel quickly when it's in survival mode. It's conserving. So our bodies aren't failing us. They're actually really freaking smart. And what we think is like, body, get with the program. I'm working out. I'm eating healthy. I'm dieting. I'm getting my steps in. And your body's like, it's too much. It's too much. Like, quit putting so many demands on me. It's like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to protect you from yourself. Because if you don't get it, I am like so intelligent. I'm going to do it for you. And it perceives that you're under threat. And so it's redirecting everything towards staying alive. So today's threats are like never-ending emails, constant notifications on our phone, social media comparison, the perfume we put on this morning, the processed food we had quickly at lunch, overtraining and underfueling because of the constant social media messages. And then we try to do things like add bioidentical hormone therapy, which I'm a huge believer in. I use it. I love it. Big advocate. But if you're not regulating your stress, you're going to feel like this much better when you could feel this much better, right? Because you're giving it a little bit of resources, but it needs a lot more resources. So I want to show you the next slide, but Amy, I think you might have to click it for me. Oh no, sorry. You already clicked it to that other one. I had my notes up. So just really quickly to show you here, cortisol, like all the things that after prolonged stress, the body begins to lower its output of these are all the things that are impacted, like your ability to detox, your immune system, your energy levels, your muscle, bone, connective tissue, your memory and learning, your quality of sleep, your mood, your thyroid function, your insulin, which is your blood sugar, your ovarian health, weight and fat distribution, protein turnover, ability to build muscle. So just a quick summaries for you guys to see it. And now we can go to the next slide. So what I want to share is some basic, simple ways that we can't eliminate every stressor in our life, right? But we can teach our body to feel safe again. We can lighten the load that keeps that cortisol elevated in the first place by learning to send safety signals to our body. And we want to do that throughout the day. So like Amy said, like we're not just going to suddenly overhaul our lives and not have stressors or responsibilities, but with intention, with scheduling things into our day that help our body go, Oh, I got a safety signal. All right, let me turn the fire down. Let me redirect blood flow to the gut. Let me digest food. Let me get, some toxins out. If you can't have a bowel movement, but like you have a moment of relaxation, you might finally be able to go. So, your nervous system needs consistent proof that you're safe. This can come through small repeated actions like morning sunlight, just sitting outside, helping to reset that circadian rhythm. Anytime you practice a really slow exhale, it calms the vagus nerve, it calms that fight or flight message down. So if you find yourself in a really like frantic moment, just starting to learn to like breathe for 1 minute afterwards. In for a count of 4, out for a count of 6, 7, or 8, whatever feels comfortable to you. Because you don't want the breath to be like another source of stress. You're like, I have to blow out for 8 seconds, but really you're at like 6, your body wants to inhale. No, it's okay. It's just that little difference, right? I tell my clients, start practicing that before all of your meals, because when you practice it when you don't need it, it will become automatic when you do. You'll start to just find yourself like in the car in traffic, white knuckling it. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, because it's like, it just becomes like muscle memory to calm yourself down. Legs up the wall at night, huge fan. Start with 5 minutes, work up to 10. You just put your butt up against the wall, stick your legs up the wall. If you give yourself a little somatic hug while you lay there and just breathe and relax, that's a great way to set yourself up for sleep, release the stress of the day. Gentle walks after meals, just not power walking, not your weighted vest, gentle walks. You can also do little things like butterfly stretch, anything that opens up this area of the body while you breathe. So lots of things that are so simple that take seconds of your time. Like while you're cooking dinner, you could be doing this. You need to have it, stack it into your day. Anything that lightens your toxic load. So hydrating well with minerals, magnesium, sodium, potassium, super, super important because those minerals are part of that whole stress response. We're all depleted. I don't know a single person who's not depleted. We all need to add them back in. Bouncing on the balls of your feet while you brush your teeth stimulates the lymphatic system, helps improve your detoxification. Making sure you're getting 25, 30 grams of fiber in a day. It's like 10 grams of fiber at every meal. If you really need to think about it in another way, you could think like 1 to 2 cups of fruits and veggies per meal. Things like that are going to help to lighten the toxic load, and also swapping out your products for things that have fewer chemicals in them. There was a recent study that showed that just swapping one product like deodorant to a non-toxic product reduced breast cancer markers. I think it was by was it 28%? Or no, it's 70% in 28 days. I was flipping my numbers around. Reduce them by 70% in 28 days. That's huge. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. As things start to run out, swap them. Fuel, don't deprive. Under eating is one of the biggest hidden stressors I see in women today. Your body can't heal or balance hormones if it's in a food scarcity space. So we did the protein and fiber workshop last month. We have a guide in our Facebook group. Megan's going to tell you more about that, but you can learn a little bit more about that, like eating adequate protein and fiber at your meals. That keeps your blood sugar stable. It makes your body feel safe. So rebalancing hormones or cortisol, like Amy said, it's not a 5-day reset. It's a day-to-day, moment-to-moment choice. And you start with whatever feels realistic to you. Maybe pick one thing from each of the categories I just mentioned. Maybe you just start with reducing your toxic load, or maybe you just start with feeling yourself better, or maybe you just start with breath work. You just start with 1 minute of breathing before your meals and throwing your legs up the wall before you go to bed at night. It's about the day-to-day choices that you make, starting with that quote that Amy shared earlier. Lifestyle got us here. Lifestyle is going to get us out. Yes, there are supplements and things like that that can help fill gaps, but without the lifestyle shifts, you'll always be chasing that gap. And I think Megan is going to close us out here. Oh, I forgot I put in tips for a toxin-free home. Open your windows for 10 minutes a day, add real plants, maybe an air purifier, non-toxic cleaning products, and like I mentioned, swapping candles and plugins for things that are natural, like essential oil diffusers.
There we go. All right, awesome. Thanks, Kaylee. I always feel like when she explains it, it makes sense. Like you can read it, you can hear it, and the way Kaylee puts it together just clicks for me. So I hope it clicked for you guys too. We want to keep this going. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, like, this all sounds good and it makes sense, and this is absolutely an area that I could use a little help and a little support, we're going to keep going next week with our cortisol reset group. So if you were in last month's protein and fiber workshop and participated there, you have a good idea of what's coming. But if you're new, just to give you a little heads up and what to expect, we're going to spend 5 days giving you some additional resources, tips, and ideas so that you can actually take this stuff and put it into practice. So that maybe you can start doing it and then ask us questions. Like our idea is that the group is interactive and informative and educational so that we can actually put these things into practice so they're not just another workshop that you hear and goes out the door, but you actually are able to put these into practice and feel the benefits of what it's like to regulate your nervous system, to see how it is when you start implementing these little tips that Kaylee was sharing earlier on the screen. And Amy, if you want to go to the next one. And just kind of reiterating why this matters. And I know Kaylee talked about, and I have it, I have 28%. So we'll have to actually go back. We'll let you guys know in the Facebook group exactly what that number was. But I know Kaylee mentioned the study. It's part of the Hormone Health Simplified book that the co-founders of Hugh and Grace wrote. It doesn't matter really what the number is. The point is, there was a study that tested, I believe it was teenage girls, is what the study was on, and had them swap out some of their personal care products. And they were able to see the markers for their breast cancer risk decline after just a couple days. The point is, what we're putting on our bodies, what our kids are putting on their bodies, is greatly impacting theirs and our hormone health. It's greatly impacting our insulin, blood sugar levels. It's impacting our metabolism. And if we can get an understanding of that now, this is all things that can change, things that can be reversed, things that can make big improvements moving forward. It's not a lost cause. We have the ability to take this information that we now know and do something about it and actually change these past habits and these past things that have been happening. Because your liver, gut, and hormones, they all work together. I know Amy gave a good kind of understanding of how interconnected our hormone system is. That was something that was new to me when I first dove into this world. I didn't understand how one impacts the other. But once you know that, it starts to make a little more sense of how our bodies are telling us something when we make these little changes. And, I know some of you are new here, some of you have been around, but the company we partner with, Hugh and Grace, I mentioned the founders, wrote the book Hormone Health Simplified. It's a company that was founded on this whole topic that we're talking about. They were a couple who had gone through an infertility journey. And when they were going to their doctors, the question was asked, what are you putting on your body? If you're trying to get pregnant and you cannot, let's look at what you're putting on your body. And I love that that's something that a fertility doctor will ask, but also shouldn't that be something we're asking ourselves always? Like whether or not we're trying to get pregnant, whether or not we're in fertile years or not, whether we're 15 or 55, what we're putting on our body is impacting everything. And that's what all of the products that Hugh and Grace creates has in common. That's the products all have that in common, that they are non-toxic. They are hormone supportive. They are all third party tested. They are proven to support the longevity of you and your body and your health, and they are proven to be supportive of our hormone health. And I think that's really important to understand because I know, Bobby, you asked about deodorants, right? Like that's a super common product that a lot of people are using and something that is a common brand that's really negatively impacting hormones. And that's something that we want to be able to dive deeper with you guys and give some ideas and swaps and things that you can understand that these little things really can compound over time to make a big difference in your health. And we wanted to let sure everyone knows the Hugh and Grace wellness line. This was to me a really big deal. I don't have an HSA or FSA account. I don't know if anyone on here has one. I don't have one, but I understand what it is. It's an account that people can use here in the United States. I know we have some Canadian friends on, and you're like, that's not something we have. But here in the US, it's something you can use through usually your employer, where you can put aside money into an account to use for things like your copays, prescriptions, things for medical care. And now we actually, Hugh and Grace went through the process to get approved that our wellness products can be used for this account.
while I don't have an HSA account that I can use, to me, this just screams validity. That the products that we have here at Hue and Grace aren't, it's not just another supplement line, that we have supplements that are proven solutions to aid in your overall health. In the same way that some might use a prescription from their doctor, you can use supplements that we carry here through your HSA FSA account. So I just think that's really important to understand. To join our group next week, you don't have to buy anything. This is just here to help educate you, to help you, especially, I don't know, those of you who have one, you might have money that's going to be, you lose it or lose it by the end of the year. Keep this in mind. Talk to the advocate that invited you to listen in on this call and see if any of these products could be something that you could implement into your routine, leverage this account. Or maybe like me, you just hear this and you realize the validity that these products have, that this is something unique and special and truly designed to be a solution for you, not just another supplement on your shelf. So if you're already in the group from last month, there's no other action you need to do. If this is the first time you're joining one of our workshops, we hope you found it super informative. And I just want to encourage you to reach out to the advocate who sent you this call so that you can get joined into the group for next week so that we can continue the conversation, to continue diving deeper into those tips and ideas and resources to elevate your knowledge around the topic of cortisol and really go into this holiday season a little less stressed and a little more joyful so that you can really enjoy it without stressing out your body and your hormones.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great afternoon, and we look forward to chatting more in the group. Bye bye.